Hey guys, I'm David and welcome to Living with the Coopers. This is Slim Done Sunday. Now this week we're getting straight into the recipe and it is my spin on Cuban beef. There's like thousands of recipes out there for Cuban beef. It's an absolutely amazing dish. I've tried it a couple of times and I've found a way that works for me. So first things first, this is in a slow cooker. You can use the hob if you'd like to instead, just keep it on a really low heat. There's a few little things I'm doing differently and I'll point them out as we're going through. So firstly, I'm going to get this turned on and I'm going to get my kettle boiling because we need some stock. Okay, so first things first. I'm going to start by adding our beef in here. I've got 700 grams of 5% beef that I got from Lidl. So that's just going to go in. Next, I'm going to get my garlic sorted. So I've got 3 cloves of, I'm using smoked garlic. I get it from Morrison's and it tastes incredible. I'm going to do it very simply. I'm just going to crush it. Get rid of my peel. And I've got a garlic crusher here somewhere. Straight into my garlic crusher. Once my garlic's in, I'm just going to give it a bit of a stir. And this is where I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper in to start off. Salt first. And then some pepper. Give that another little stir. No, I'm not using normal onions in here. I found shallots on offer in Lidl today. They're only 19p for a bag. So I'm using 2 of these instead. I prefer the flavour anyway, they're quite mild. So these are going to go in. Nothing fancy. Just going to skin this shallot here. Cut it in half. And then I'm literally going to cut little semicircles. And when I'm adding them in, just going to break them up slightly with the hand. There you go. They'll soften up lovely in here as well. I'm going to put 2 in. We all like onions, we all like garlic, so there's plenty of onions and garlic. If you're not so keen, you know, take a little bit out. But I would highly recommend keeping some in, because it gives it a nice flavour. Now I've seen a lot of Slimming World recipes, especially using a lot of pepper, like bell pepper. Whereas, like all the traditional recipes I've found, tend not to have an awful lot of it in. Green pepper usually, but I went for red, purely because they didn't have any green there today, so that's fine by me. I always keep a little, ooh, got a little pepper in the pepper. A little baby. I love that now. I've removed all the seeds. More importantly, try and get rid of most of the white stuff that you can find in there as well, because that's a little bit sour. Okay, and this is just going to be chopped into strips and thrown straight in. By all means, point out all the mistakes I'm making. It's absolutely fine. When it comes to slow cooker recipes, I just find the best way is to just chuck everything in. I mean, it's going to be in there for hours anyway. If I was doing it on the hob, I might do it slightly differently. I might start roasting the beef first. I'd probably use steak rather than chunks as well, you know, just to make it a bit more, well, you know, I can spend more time doing that, but with the idea of a slow cooker recipe is that the prep is quick and you can just go off and leave it cook and then not worry about it whatsoever. Okay, now to make my stock, I'm going to do it slightly differently to the other recipes I've seen. So I've got here a normal beef stock and I've got the rich beef stock. Now this does call for 2 stock cubes, but what I'm going to do, I do like a very beefy flavour, so I'm going to add a rich first. This is about 300 millilitres of water, boiling water obviously. I'm just going to mix this up and this is going to go in first. And then if I feel later on, I'm going to give it a bit of a taste after about an hour or so. And if I feel it needs a little bit more, then I'm going to just throw the other one in. But for now, I'm not going to chance it, just in case I make it over the top. So that is going in now. I love the smell of these stock pots. Okay, so next I'm going to add in my chopped tomatoes and my tomato puree. So firstly my chopped tomatoes. Just going to chuck those in, any old shape will do. That's great. Get rid of that. And my tomato puree. 2 tablespoons of this is going in. There's 1. And there's 2. Okay, now on to our spices and herbs. So I've got some dried oregano. I'll give a teaspoon of this in. I've got Tumeric. Tumeric has supposedly got a lot of healing properties. It's a really, really delicious spice to use as well. So I'm just going to chuck a teaspoon of this in as well. Oh, a bit more than a teaspoon apparently. Then onto our cumin. So once again, teaspoon of this. And finally, something that I haven't seen on other recipes, but I did it last time I made this and I liked it, and that's some English mustard. So I can get into it, there we are. And it's literally half a teaspoon. Done. So next, got some red wine vinegar. Now I have seen a couple of recipes ask for white wine vinegar, but beef and white wine to me don't go, so I'm using red wine vinegar. So I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of this in. It's delicious stuff. Now what you can do is you can use white wine or red wine stock pots from Tesco's, but I've never really been a fan of wine in food, certain foods, but you know, not with this, so I'm gonna skip that myself, but by all means do. Now all of our ingredients are in, so I'm gonna give it a bit of a stir. And it smells delicious already. You know you're onto a winner when it already smells nice. Basically all I'm looking for is that everything has been covered and that there's no lumps of spice or anything. So that over time this will all change anyway. And now I'm just going to balance it a little bit more with some salt and pepper. This recipe calls for a bit of spice too. You can leave it out if you want to. Most of the recipes I've seen have been using chili flakes. You know, you can put as much as you want in. If you like it spicy, put a teaspoon, put more in if you want to. But Ellen and I went to Lake Garda not so long ago and we got these amazing little dried chilies. And I put them in most of my sauces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it whole. And I'm just going to throw 2 in. Actually, yeah, no, 2's enough. 2's enough. And there's a bit of a game you can play with these chilies if you do put them in whole. That's playing who's got the chili. Because if you get that and you haven't realised, it can give you quite a burny mouth. Now everything is in. I'm just going to pop a lid on and leave it for as long as I possibly can. What time are we on now? It's about 2 o'clock now, so I think Matthew and Katie are coming over around about 7, so 5 hours is about right. By then the meat would start falling apart. You can pull it if you want, if you've got full steak or if you've got like a roasting joint or something, you can pull it. You probably need to leave it a lot longer then, maybe 8 hours. But I think 5 hours for the size of meat we're using should be spot on. As I mentioned earlier, this sometimes calls for more than 1 stock pot. So I'm going to add this in now, as it is. So I'm just going to open it and chuck it in, and it'll give it the extra beefy flavour then.
Go.
So my trusty camerawoman's back now, Ellen. So thank you, Ellen. And now she's back, she said she wants some of these lovely mini roasts in with the rice as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to parboil them in some lightly salted water for about 10-15 minutes, skin on, then I'm going to chuck them in a big roasting tray with some garlic, rosemary and fry light, bung them in the oven until they start going crispy and golden brown, and then they just come out when they're ready. Okay guys, so now I've taken them out, I've cut them up, and the reason I've done it this way around is because they work out a lot better. You're not losing all this you don't lose any flesh in the water. Now I'm just gonna coat them with some of my secret weapon, some garlic salt. It's safe putting fresh garlic in because fresh garlic can sometimes burn under the high heat. And some smoked paprika because I want to keep that, like, you know, it's going to be a spicy dish anyway, and I want to keep that going. So that's just all going over. Then a load of fry light over the top. Quick shake. And straight into it. Okay, so there's not many things left to do now. Just going to put the rice on. So I'm going to lightly salt some water again. And I'm using boil in the bag. I'm going to use like 3 bags. Which will probably be more than enough. Because when I did the special fried rice, I used 3 and it was tons. So I'm using long grain rice, so 3 of these in should be enough. Just to finish off, I'm going to add a bit of chopped coriander. The reason I'm putting it in now is because I want it to be very, very fresh. And we're about 5 or 10 minutes away from serving right now, so... And then I'm going to... Ellen doesn't like it too much, so I'm going to save a bit back to put fresh on top of the rest of it to serve. But I still want a little bit through it all, so chop it up very, very roughly and just toss it in and give it a good stir. Perfect. So it's time to serve up. So I'm going to start with a bed of rice. I'm going to add a few potatoes around the side. And then I'm going to finish off with some of our delicious Cuban beef. There you have it, my slow cooker Cuban beef. How is it, Ellen?
It's lush, really, really tasty. Delicious. Different.
How about better? No. Matt had the chili. Well, Matt had one of the chilies, so there's one more out. I'm hoping Ellen gets it.